Hmm. Lovely to see you. Hmm. Lovely to see you. In the heat of summer. So might take a look at everyone here on your other page if you can. Say hi. Hmm. I always appreciate getting to see you. Hmm. So often at the beginning of the sitting, it's helpful it's a very gentle, just gradual settling in process with the attention by connecting the attention at first with the space around our body. So it's not a yanking the attention around, it's much more softly landing wherever the attention lands. And often it's helpful to notice the quality of the attention itself. So there can be an invitation to arrive and just to keep arriving and to notice in that arriving or the arrivals if there's any tenderness or care, kindness possible for what is appearing. And this doesn't mean we have to conjure up something intense. It's almost like the lightest wind, a quiet care. And an appreciation for wanting to connect with aliveness itself, the mystery of aliveness itself. So just that amazing sense door of hearing. That we can actually connect our attention to the speed of sound. So it's that attention that's receiving directly the movement, the aliveness. So if you can connect the attention with the sound, see if it can carry your attention as it's moving until it disappears. So the attention and the sound disappear together. So it's that receiving textures, vibrations, letting them carry the attention with ease. And that ease can be fundamental to arriving here. That shifting into our hands. Similarly, it's that listening, like music, listening for the aliveness within our hands. It's not going through the thought process, although sometimes visual images or thoughts, memories appear and disappear in the present. No problem. And notice, can there be a lightness of kindness or care sometime? Shifting to the rising and falling movement at our abdomen. Seeing if, again, the attention can receive the sensations just as they're happening as best we can. Sensations can carry the attention till the breath, that movement, and the attention disappear. And when the thoughts come and go, Emotions come and go. Body sensations come and go, as well as breath, sounds. It's all part of nature, being with the nature of how things are. Don't have to get rid of anything or get anything. So we get enough of the spacious awareness. We feel that ease at times, where experience is actually doing itself. We don't have to make anything happen. Doing the best we can to connect the attention with what's appearing, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. But notice we don't have to control what's happening. It's uncontrollable, moving so quickly. This can be a deeper relaxation with that understanding. Connecting, letting the attention be carried with the experience till it disappears. Not me, not I, not mine. Mm. Thank you, Kay. Thank you for helping today. Thank you. Mm. The book, The Little Prince, um, by Saint-Exupéry. He was a great aviator and author. And there's a quotation from that book that I think is really important when we attempt to be with the nature of how things are. So this is what the little prince said. And now here is my secret, a very simple secret. It is only with the heart that one can rightly see what is essential and is invisible to the eye. So it's like what is essential but invisible, yeah, to the eye. So important. Understanding the nature of how things are is understanding the mystery of the aliveness of whatever appears. Yeah, the aliveness and deathness every moment. A lot of you know one of my root guru. Her name was Deepama from India, and had this extraordinary cultivation of metta, like she lived in this loving kindness field. It was boundless. And she was also incredibly wise, just such deep attainment, deep understanding. When just the last time I saw her, and you don't know when anybody's going to die, but I had this strong feeling I might not ever see her again. And she probably felt that. And she said, the Dhamma is everywhere. I will never leave you. The Dhamma is everywhere. You know, you can't get more invisible than that, right? Or paradoxical. And, you know, it's like it's not, it's sort of this funny thing where it would, I don't ever think she would have lied about it, right? You know, like when she said, I will never leave you, I didn't feel like she was trying to reassure me or comfort me. I felt like it was true. And I think one of the things that was so powerful about Deepama was her extraordinary emphasis on metta as well as emptiness of the emptiness of wisdom. So that Nisargadatta quote, "Love tells me I'm everything, and wisdom tells me I'm nothing." She so it was like she was immersed in that. And she had really um, cultivated the spirit of blessing in a way I'd never seen. You know, you hear a blessing or bless you, but she really knew how to bless. Like she said, cultivate the spirit of blessing. If you bless those around you, this will inspire you to be attentive every moment. And how many people actually, there's so many things she said to do that so many people don't do. Like so, and they were very simple. So she said, always walk, do walking meditation 10 minutes before you sit. She valued it so much. It was a always, always. before every sitting, do 10 minutes of walking. And when I watched her walk, it was amazing. She never really walked that slow. And there's a nun in Burma that taught with us for some years at Shaswal Monastery, and I would watch her walk around her little kuti, and it was very similar to Deepama. But there is that sense that the attention is right with the movement, right with the movement, right with the movement and the step, right with the movement and the step. And there's so much energy and power that comes from that concentration. And 10 minutes that we can't scrape out of the day, right? Like I find it fascinating for as a human being. And then, this cultivate the spirit of blessing. It's like I've started to read this every day just to get that sense of like, I can do this walking around my neighborhood, at least for part of the walk. And it's wonderful. Like it's actually wonderful. Like it's like, and what is it again? There were these teachings she gave that were so interesting. When she taught metta, she taught it at the beginning of the practice that she'd do with you is to have a photo of yourself and actually have it in front of you while you're doing the metta, and to open your eyes and to look at the photo and then to close your eyes and see if you can practice metta for yourself. It's very concrete, I think, very practical. You don't even have to imagine like what you look like. It's pretty interesting. And of course, I'll bring up that one again, um, powerful teaching where she said, when you lying down before you go to sleep, put your hand on your heart and the other hand on your belly, and to do a little metta for yourself and to notice the rising, falling before you go to sleep. And what would that be like to be able to do before you die? Because you've practiced it so much. And it's so easy, but it's almost like we don't want to do what's so easy or something. It's interesting. I just find it interesting. And then, of course, the Buddha taught that we can understand the whole universe. I love this stuff. We can understand the whole universe in our fathom-long body. The whole universe. Like that's a bold statement. And what could that even mean for us in terms of what, like the question, who am I? Who are you? Or what are we doing on this planet? And I really feel like kind of like the way we've been teaching is to emphasize relationship, 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 relationship with the breath, relationship with sound. And the meaning of this is that we're not trying to get anything or get rid of it. We don't have to get the breath, right? It's already there. We don't have to get anything. The sound is already there. Get rid of it. Why would we want to get rid of anything, really, that appears moment to moment, sixth sense door, really, except that we don't like pain, right? Pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. So we see what's the price of being alive. Yeah. And there's a great poet. I think of him as contemporary. He died some years ago. Galway Canal, lived in Vermont the last years from New England. And there's a poem, I won't do it all, but it's called Neverland. And his sister's name was Wendy. So this is a poem right before she died. Bending over her bed, I saw the smile I must have seen when gaping up from the crib. Knowing death will come, sensing its onset, may be a fair price for consciousness. But looking at my sister, I wish she could have died by surprise without ever knowing about death. For most people, one day everything is all right. The next, the limbic node catches fire. The day after, the malleus in one ear starts missing the incus. Then the arthritic opposable thumb no longer opposes whoever last screwed the top onto the jam jar. That's me. Then the coracohumeral ligament frizzles apart. The liver speckles, the kidneys dent, two toes lose their souls. Of course, before things get worse, a person could run for it. He goes into this long section of trying to run for it. It's very funny. Uh, but that sense that the Buddha taught that actually knowing death is going to happen at some point, unpredictably, is actually a heavenly messenger. It's actually like wakes us up to explore again this aliveness. For me, I was born dead. I figured everything after that was like, you know, given like quite a kind of grace. And I remembered it my first retreat with U Pandita. My mother died too. They eventually saved us, but I have it was my mother's favorite memory was dying. Now, I wouldn't say it was mine, but I also felt like it did instill in me a kind of, when I was really little, of course, I didn't think about it, but I had a sense that there's something deeper than life and death, that what we would call invisible was very palpable for me and actually made me feel quite different than most people, but also just grateful for that sense of that invisible Dhamma that's so important, that can guide us, really. And I think I just want to emphasize that just that sense of like getting a relationship to fear, right? So that we're less and less afraid of fear over time, but more of a sense of that we can explore it as if it's the first time, which it is, right? So we understand, we know, most of us know that each moment is new, that you can never repeat it. And the understanding that each moment is living and then dying, like you can, that's why I was saying, let the sound carry your attention till it disappears. So you're arriving and departing. No subject, no object. So there's this aliveness, and the Nisargadatta, Sri Nisargadatta said, our body is made up of food, and our mind is made up of thoughts. And the Buddha taught that our body, rather than saying food, was composed of the four great elements, so that the breath is wind, it's air. How could it possibly be mine, right? And you wouldn't want to really control it. If you could control the breath, if we could control it, we'd probably make much more of a mess of it. We'd want it deeper and longer till we choke to death or so. We have these ideas about how things are, but it's like just learning to let it come and go. The body kind of does an okay job. Air, or at least for when you're doing the Vipassana, you get to see what it's like to connect and not control, to connect and not control. And the understanding is that you start to see how much you try to control when you set that up, when you set up staying with the sound or staying with the anger, right? Whatever it is, happiness, you stay with it, it ends, right? It's like this whole process is learning to see how much we're controlling. We're not trying to get rid of that. We're trying to understand it always. And so the body's made up of earth. And then what is our relationship to our planet? Do we get that it's alive? Do we treat our planet like it's alive? Do we treat our stars like they're alive, or the wind or the clouds? I might sound like I'm pleading with you at this point, but I don't mean to. It's more of a sense that it's like our relationship to one thought or our body, our hand is the same as the relationship to fear, but it's the same as our relationship to the earth. How are we relating to it? How are we relating to it? How are we relating to it? I remember one time in reading Krishnamurti's journals, he said, meditation is the end of all relationship. I remember even then thinking, I don't think that would be nibbana. That would be unconditioned. There really would be no more subject object. But I don't believe in getting attached to any layer of reality. It's like, fine, but it's like, look at the planet. Look at the shape we're often in because of how we relate to our bodies, right? It's like, look at it, look at it. We must look at our relationship. It's not a conceptual thing. I'm not saying the earth is alive as a metaphor. I'm not saying the earth is alive as a concept. I'm saying the earth is as alive as we are. And then you get a sense that we're like weather, right? Earth, air, fire, and water. They changing. And that's part of the practice, is getting to actually experience it, not have an idea. Oh, it's earth, air, fire, and water, right? It's like, no, it's like it's experiencing that. So we're not taking it so much as me, I, or mine, but a constantly changing process of earth, air, fire, and water. Or could we ever believe that we could control thinking? If we could control thinking, that would mean there's a personal I there who can control it, and we would control it. So these are quite so I'm explaining a way of, like, the talk is more about exploration of the visible, invisible, and the paradox of that, and not trying to get rid of the vast mystery of aliveness, but maybe to accept it. I kind of have always been interested in black holes, metaphorically, symbolically, but also uh, tangibly. And especially since I moved to the Big Island, to where I live at this time of year, I get to see the place where there's the middle of the Milky Way, and right next to it, the black hole. I just think that's the cat's pajamas. I don't know why it's so thrilling to me, but I just find it so thrilling. And so there's a new show about black holes, black matter, and black energy that I watched last night. And I've kind of heard some of this stuff, but it's like, okay, so 5%, almost not, they're saying about 5%. They're not even saying it is 5%. It's more like 4%, but I think they're trying to make us feel better. So they're sort of saying about 5% of the universe that's visible, that's light. That's all it is. Stars, planets like us, our Earth, there's only 5% that's visible. And then there's 26% that's dark matter. And there's a whopping 69% that's dark energy. So 96% of the universe is dark. And they don't know what dark energy is. That's my favorite part. But what was cool about this show is that they were just like most of the people they interviewed, you know, were excited about like that we don't know. And we're so excited about exploring it. That was new to hear. And they actually know, they admit that they know about the dark matter, that 26% of the dark matter, that's actually pulls galaxies together. This is us. The whole universe is our fathom long body, right? I'm not talking about this as something outside of ourselves. So this is in, out, inside, outside. And um, the dark energy pushes galaxies apart. So what they're now discovering, which is so cool, is that this dark energy is getting more and more and more over time. And so it's pushing the universe apart faster and faster. It's expanding. And it's actually, what's so cool is that it's distributed evenly throughout the whole universe, not only in space, but in time. So the effect of it is not diluted as the universe expands. Now, I hope you find that thrilling and inspiring because when you go through your body, how much do you not see? How much do you not experience, right? Do you really experience the liver, like that area of your body? And are we interested? And this is my favorite thing that I didn't see in the show. I looked it up, but most of you know Carl Sagan, right? In 1990, he wrote a book called The Pale Blue Dot. And he based that book on a photo that was taken by the Voyager 1, the Voyager 1. Most of us probably remember that, the space probe. And there was a photo of the Earth. And they showed it in this show briefly. They showed the photo and it just took my breath away. Not only took my breath away, but had such a power. And that Carl Sagan called the Earth a pale blue dot because it's so small in the universe. It's like, and the Voyager team wrote that they did this trip because they wanted us, humanity, to see the Earth's vulnerability and that our home is just a tiny, fragile speck in the cosmic ocean. Pale blue dot. If you ever get upset, just say the pale blue dot. I mean, it's like really getting the sense of how important it is to try to be interested in what's happening rather than to judge it. This is from Nisargadatta 487. Ah, This is part of something that I've read many times. But he said, a person who says, now I am happy, is between two sorrows, past and future. This happiness is mere excitement caused by relief from pain. It is expressed negatively as there is nothing wrong with me. I have nothing to worry about. This experience is being empty, uncluttered by memories and expectations. It is like the happiness of open spaces, of being young, of having all the time and energy for doing things, for discovery, for adventure. The question is, what remains to discover? The universe without and the immensity within as they are in reality. The meaning and purpose of existence, the secret of suffering, life's redemption from ignorance. This is what we're doing. Life's redemption from ignorance. So this universe without and immensity within, it's clearly part of what we're doing. There was a great song by Alan Toussaint called Southern Nights. Um, Someone else made it quite famous, but he was the one who wrote it. He was a great musician, African American from New Orleans, songwriter, musician, incredible piano player, recorder, producer. Um, and I am not going to read all the lyrics, but he did. It starts with, he's from New Orleans, so just, it starts with Southern Nights. Have you ever felt a Southern night? Free as a breeze, not to mention the trees, whistling tunes that you know and love so. I apologize to anyone who can truly say that they have found a better way. Its precious beauty lies beyond the eye. I'm reading pieces of it. Old man, he and his dog that walked the old land. Every flower touched his cold hand as he slowly walked by, weeping willows. He would cry for joy. Joy. Feels so good. Feels so good. It's frightening. I wish I could stop this world from fighting. Mysteries like this and many others in the trees blow in the night in the southern skies, southern nights. They feel so good it's frightening. Wish I could stop this world from fighting. Well, if you hear it, you will hear such joy. You can cry with joy. It's such joy. And that peak of it is this deep wish for the end of fighting. And I'm talking about this because I feel like it's so important for us at this point in time to get that if that that joy, that vast range of joy and sorrow, it's almost like to be able to bear it, to be able to withstand it, and to understand the equanimity of it, that we're born into this world of this vast range of joy and sorrow to explore, and how important the joy is, right? That joy is, and how important it is to want peace. That they might seem paradoxical, but I do feel like they're completely related. And that sense of the old man, it just reminds me of that appreciation for the aliveness of the earth. And if you've really taken your time with it, if you're old and you just touch a flower, you cry with joy because of the relationship, the gratitude, yeah, the wonder of it. The other day I was sitting on a rock wall and I noticed this uh, honeybee walking on the cement. And you know how cement will have like these cracks every so often that if you hear the cars go over them, they'll hear clunk, 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 clunk. Well, this particular cement driveway has that. So I was just sitting there wondering why the bee was walking, and its wings looked not that great. And I felt such a deep connection with the bee, and it tripped. It tripped. It tripped on the crack. And I thought, oh, I've done that 3 times already. I hope it doesn't hurt you like me. But it was such a great feeling of connection and care and then this sense of, well, what is compassion, right? Just like and just that feeling of caring about this being so much and caring, I don't know what's going on. I know that if they hit any poison, they'll they'll die, right? They can be really thirsty, but we still have some water around. But it was just that sense of understanding that the awareness of caring feels wonderful, but it doesn't take the pain away from the bee, right? It's still hurting. It's still tripped, right? It's like holding that, again, that range of the care and the equanimity. It's still painful for the bee. I stayed with it till it went into the grass. And I find again, like I'm offering this talk in the context of our times and how things are. This last week was a doozy. And um, Seeing where our wisdom, understanding the vulnerability that anything can happen, coming from understanding, of course, anicca, right? Every every moment arises and passes away. Understanding this brings the greatest kind of peace. Yeah. So that because of that impermanence, we never know what's going to happen. And I think that where do you find reassurance in that? What is reassurance in that? And then what is despair, right? I think of that those two as opposites, but often things we have to navigate in a world where there's such a range of joy and sorrow. And so being with the nature, I'm emphasizing nature because often nature we'll think of as just beautiful, but it's also has pain, right? And sorrow and destruction, just like a breath. But also beings are can be cruel or just living their natures out. There are these intensely red cardinals here in Hawaii. and they often bring me a lot of joy. It is a drought, and it's a desert, so any kind of color is welcome and wonderful. And just connecting to them, they are birds that really come up and look and connect with them. And I have these three feral cats that each have their own place, and they're very little. They're three female, very small feral cats. Um, they tend not to fight anything. One time, after the fire in my house in 2014, there was a cleaner that was sent to clean. They had to shut the whole house down, and wear those suits. You couldn't be in the house without. It was a mess. So anyway, one time I got to know him and his family, and one time his wife visited, and the one of the cats came by and he whispered to her, but I could hear it. He whispered to her, "They're full grown. They're full grown. They're full grown." And I was like, "Oh, you mean they're not good enough? Like they're full grown meant they're too little, right? They're just not okay the way they are." It was so funny. I really took it hard for how they're full grown. But anyway, they are full grown, but very small. Um, and in the last few years, there's been a kind of rhythm with the cardinals where the female and the male, and they'll come and everybody lets them eat. Like the cats just look at them, and it always seems like they're friends, and um, they don't take too much. And lately, they've just completely changed their behavior, the cardinals, and they're dive bombing the cats, and they're like gobbling this, in my mind, expensive food, and try to feed them good food. Anyway, it's so funny because it's like that range again, right? Of like really loving these cardinals and appreciating them, and they're so uplifting. And now it's like, and the cats have lost their friends. The cats are looking at them, then they look at me, and they don't fight. They just walk away. And now they're starting to cry, like they're crying. I'm not giving you the sense of like the worst of the range of joy and sorrow here, but I am saying that you can have this incredible joy, and then your friend gets cancer, right? Or you can have this incredible gratitude, and your dear friend is getting dementia, right? It's like, and then there's war, yeah, etc. There's so much not being able to control politics, for example, things like that, right? Like it's hard, that range again. And Saigyo, the poet, was so good at showing this range of the soft anicca and hard anicca. Soft, hard, soft, hard, soft, hard. And accepting the karma of taking birth on this pale blue dot. Yeah. Accepting the karma of being on this pale blue dot that is so filled with wonder and beauty and joy, and so filled with just terrifying destruction and greed. The Buddha taught the greed, hatred, and delusion. And I feel like I feel so lucky and grateful I found this practice. To meet somebody like Deepama who could bless everything and had had so much suffering in her life, and who is so free, so liberated, so free. and to see that it's possible for us to do that here. I don't know if you know the movie Spirited Away by Hayao Miyazaki. He's a great animator from Japan. Um, he has a relatively newish movie called The Boy and the Heron, which is a much more complicated story. And there's one part where this boy, he has to leave Tokyo during World War II. His mother dies in a fire. He leaves. So there's the mother dying, the fire, World War II, having to leave. And he was sent to the countryside. And his first day of school, he gets beat up by the kids. And they show him leaving and walking along in the country. His name is Mahito. And this is from a review by Justin Chang from the LA Times. He said, Mahito, the movie's most piercing moment is at once fictional, one hopes, and tethered to painful, unfantastical reality. Mahito, the boy hero, is feeling hopeless and abandoned. Suddenly, he lifts a stone and smashes it against the side of his head, drawing a cascade of blood and leaving a scar that lingers until the end of the movie. So this is what I wanted to emphasize. It's a startling it's a startling instance of self-inflicted violence that speaks to the fearless, unsparing quality that has always been at the heart of Miyazaki's work. His empathy for his characters is too profound to spare them the realities of violence and despair, just as he loves them too much to deny them the possibility of wonderment and joy. And I'm asking all of us, can we feel that for ourselves? His empathy for his characters, our empathy for all beings, right, is too profound to spare them the realities of violence and despair, just as he loves them too much to deny them the possibility of wonderment and joy. Mm. Basho, he lived from 1644 to 1694 in Japan. He wrote, banana leaves hanging round my hut must be moon viewing. He renamed himself Banana Leaf, so the name Basho is not his true name, his born name. He named himself Basho. And every time he moved, he was a pilgrim, but he made three major moves in his life, and he would dig up the banana plant and plant it by his hut. And in all his pilgrimages, he thought of that tree all the time. Banana leaves hanging round my hut must be moon viewing. And for those of you in the heat, it feels cool to put the feet against the wall, a midday nap. It feels cool to put the feet against the wall, a midday nap. Mm. In my area of our beloved planet, there are a lot of bugs and funguses that like to be part of the garden in a big way. It seems to be getting more intense, like the universe expanding. The bugs, the bugs bothering my plants are getting more intense. They're expanding, and I have been whittled down in terms of trying to grow tomatoes to only cherry tomatoes. I don't even think about growing normal tomatoes. Um, but even then, cherry tomatoes have gotten almost impossible. And so I'll give up and I'll say, I am through with this. I'm not going to do this to myself anymore. And then I'll get over that eventually and I'll plant another one. And then I've been doing this for 13 years here. I'll like go, I'm through with you. I'm not going to do this. And then I do it. Why? Because I love tomatoes so much. I love them so much. And it's actually hard to get tomatoes here in the Big Island. So, because everybody is having the problem. So last year, a cherry tomato plant came up all by itself in the garden. And I was like, what? What's this? And I would say I had the most amazing relationship with that plant I've ever had. It was intelligent. It was bold. It was the most resistant to any kind of bug. It had some, but not many. And the fungus that they all get, it was so resistant. And so I thought, oh, when it started, not just before it started to die, I thought, well, maybe I'll try saving the seeds. But it's hard to save tomato seeds. I read all about it. You know, when you can Google something, and I got more discouraged. I thought, I don't have time for this. But then ah, one person taught that you can put them on a paper towels and dry them that way. And I did. Um, and it worked. They're all dried and in jars and in the on the paper towel. And a couple weeks ago, well, maybe more, a month or something, but all you have to do is cut a little bit around the seeds and plant them. And some are coming up, and it's totally unknown, right? It's like the odds, the odds of this working out. In fact, I'm going to confess that I actually did buy two cherry tomato plants. They're called black cherry tomatoes last month, and they're getting decimated. They're getting creamed. I'm just going out there. I'm like, okay, okay, okay. And so here we go. But it's like, it's such an exploration for me. I love it. I'm not saying you should, but I'm saying whatever it is that you do love and you give up, remember that at some point you'll probably want to try again. And mostly I'm saying this story as a metaphor for how we go through the times. How do we go through these times? And keep staying with I think of Deepama as a lighthouse, really a lighthouse of just, if she can do it, we can do it. If she can do it, we can do it. She was a lay person, a mother in India, Calcutta. Hmm, that's it, I think. you get bored, you can always check out the dark energy because there seems to be a lot of it. Mm. Mm.